Okay, I call to order Arlington's 2025 annual town meeting. Please hold your applause until the meeting is dissolved. I guess I'll say that every year now. It looks like everyone's gotten their buttons, I think. Is that? Oh. Okay. Is that better for everyone? Okay, great. Was there a no? Okay. Louder? Okay. Okay. Is that better for everyone? Yeah. Okay, perfect. It looks like everyone's got their buttons, so let's thank Elizabeth Carr-Jones, who created the design for the buttons, and Josh LaBelle, who created the buttons, of course. Thank you, Josh. Yep. Okay. Let me remind everyone that the floor of the auditorium and the center balcony are reserved for town meeting members. If you don't know what that means, then you are probably not a town meeting member. And you should relocate yourself to one of the side balconies, which are open to the public. Thank you. To start us off, I'd like to introduce Arlington's Poet Laureate, Jean Flanagan, and Len Diggins, who worked together to prepare a poem that reflects on the 250th anniversary of our town's role in the Revolutionary War.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight. My part of the poem is in free verse, and Select Board member Diggins has done his in an ancient form called haiku. The development of this poem was through reading a series of books on the Revolutionary War, particularly West Cambridge on the 19th of April, 1775 by Samuel Abbott. Marching to Monotony, April 19th, 1775. The epigraph is, "Our hearts cannot but throb in unison with the beatings of the national heart," by Samuel Abbott. In April, when magnolia and forsythia bloom and daffodils line our path, ponder those who fought for freedom here at Monotony, the altar of liberty.
Now our time beckons.
Hear the church bells warning the redcoats are coming. Black boots, bayonets, muskets over their shoulders. Redcoats marching to the beat of their fifes and drums. Down the winding road that is now Massachusetts Ave, through town, marching on their way to Boston, setting fires, stealing, shooting. Whittemore, Cutter, Robbins, Russell, Lamson, Mother Barbaric at Spy Pond, waiting to protect their homes, their land, stood firm against oppression, against the king. Russell died from 11 bayonet wounds. Whittemore was beaten, left for dead.
Democracy we defend.
Monotony, the bloodiest battle of the day. Black boots on the ground. The Minutemen hide behind rocks, trees, stone walls, quietly waited for the moving circle of fire.
Brave, stand together.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for inviting me to do this. It's a real honor, and it's I say this as a compliment to town meeting and all of Arlington, that this is an opportunity for me to see what it's like from the pinnacle, the tippy top, if you will, of Maslow's hierarchy. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both. Tonight, with the opening of this town meeting, we continue a Massachusetts tradition which dates back nearly 400 years. Let's begin by acknowledging those who sacrificed and suffered along the path that led to the freedoms that we enjoy today. The Massachusetts tribe and the English colonists who settled here and fought and died here during the Revolutionary War, and all who have served their communities and their country in the service of freedom. And remember those we've lost in the past year who served the town of Arlington, including Jane Howard, town meeting member and a founding member of Vision 2020, Wilfred St. Martin, town meeting member and American Legion commander, Janet Blodgett, town meeting member, and Kay Donovan, former superintendent of schools. Let us observe a moment of silence to honor their memory. Thank you. There's something special about this place, about Arlington. Most towns measure their town meetings in hours. I know. I laughed the first time I heard that too. We measure ours, as you know, in weeks. I often compare notes with moderators from other towns, and it's clear that we're an outlier. Nobody does democracy as much as Arlington does democracy. There's something here that inspires an intensity for engagement and self-governance like nowhere else I've seen. And it's not a new phenomenon, whether it was called monatomy or West Cambridge or Arlington. Our town is unmatched in its passion for self-governance. 250 years and 9 days ago, during the battles of Lexington and Concord, Minutemen from dozens of towns, from Danvers to Dedham, convened here in monatomy to confront the British regulars on their march to Boston. Our predecessors had reached a point of no return. That day, on April 19, 1775, they began their transformation from subjects to citizens. Many of you know the story of monatomy resident Samuel Whittemore. There's a monument to him, which I'm sure you've all seen, in the Whittemore Park in front of the Cyrus Dallin Museum. On that first day of the war, during the Battle of Monatomy, he was 79 years old and single-handedly defended his home by killing one British soldier with his musket, then used a pair of dueling pistols to kill two more, and after that, he drew his sword. He was shot in the head, stabbed with a bayonet, and left for dead. He somehow survived, recovered, and lived to the age of 96, long enough to see the ratification of the Constitution and the inauguration of George Washington. Now, the inscription on the monument cites slightly different ages for him, but suffice to say, for an 18th century man, he was very, very old. Sam Whittemore's determination to live as a free man embodies the spirit of this town and this country. Our predecessors ultimately won their freedom, even if not all at the same time, and they were determined to not replace a tyranny from afar with a tyranny from within. So, they made sure that the powers of their new government were separated into multiple branches, and they established a Bill of Rights to protect the freedoms of individuals. Many of America's founding principles can be traced to the institution of town meeting. The separation of powers between the moderator, the boards and committees, and all of you. Pluralism through a deliberative process conducted with impartiality. And the rule of law. It is our duty as officers and members of this body and as American citizens to stand for these principles and stand against their perennial predator, tyranny. Tyranny is the opposite of our founding principles: consolidation of unchecked power, intolerance of dissent, and rule by fiat. To allow tyranny to take hold within our republic is to relinquish our rights and responsibilities as citizens and return to being subjects, subjected to the rule of men rather than bound by the rule of law. And if that possibility is as intolerable to you as it is to me, then we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do to prevent it? What does someone with Sam Whittemore's courage and determination look like today? They're not walking down Mass Ave with muskets or dueling pistols or a sword, I hope. But maybe they're getting into good trouble, necessary trouble, to stir things up in ways that inspire rather than demoralize, ways that bring clarity rather than confusion, bringing focus rather than distraction. The tools, techniques, and platforms change across generations, but it's always the same spirit that drives us to be free. Our revolutionary predecessors shocked the world by defeating the tyranny of their time, and they inspired the dawn of democracies around the world. Their formula for success was solidarity among a coalition of people with diverse viewpoints, united in their relentless determination to be free. That is what it means to be American. Here, in the cradle of American democracy, let us channel the courage and determination of our predecessors like Samuel Whittemore. Let us join in solidarity around the founding principles of our nation, the separation of powers, pluralism, and the rule of law. In the face of democracies backsliding around the world, including our own, let us once again be a beacon that lights the way to freedom. Now please rise for the Menotomy Minutemen and join them in the national anthem. Great, thank you. Okay, we'll now proceed to the swearing in of new town meeting members. Well, first, can all the new town meeting members who are elected for the first time rise? Why don't we welcome them? Thank you. Welcome to town meeting, and stay standing. And then any town meeting members who were re-elected, please rise as well. And can we get the town meeting member oath on the display? Okay, can folks read that? Okay. I'll read that from my copy here. Now, just a note here, because there have been questions about whether the town meeting member oath of office is actually legally required or not. It actually appears to be an open legal question. There are different schools of thought about this. I've talked to 2 town councils who have differing views on this. So may the buyer beware. If you do not take the oath of office, someone may challenge that. I personally won't challenge that, but what I will do as moderator is that I will hold you to the spirit of this and these values during debate, whether you take the oath or not. So with that said, raise your right hand and repeat after me using your own name. I will participate fully and will fairly evaluate all matters before town meeting and vote in the best interests of the town. I support free speech and will treat others with mutual respect and will conduct myself in a civil manner that is becoming of an elected town meeting member. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties incumbent upon me as a town meeting member of the town of Arlington, in accordance with the bylaws, the Town Manager Act, and the general laws of the Commonwealth. Thank you, and congratulations. Okay, can we now bring up the vote to consent to the satellite room, which we will also use as our test vote. Oh, I'm sorry, before we need to see the text. Could we disable the voting and show the text of the vote? Let's see. Right, and so it says that the duly elected representative town meeting members of the town of Arlington hereby consent and agree to conduct this meeting and address all articles on the warrant in person, by in-person participation utilizing the town hall auditorium and a satellite room in the town hall complex, which is up that way, via live audio and video. And so we've been doing this since we returned from COVID, and we still have the satellite room up there that we're using. And so now we'll take a vote on this for the meeting to consent to this format. Yeah, can we bring up the vote screen here? Vote screen, and voting is on. Because, the point of, yes. Yes, Mr. Wagner?
Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. I think you need to tell people what the options for the vote are. Thank you. Okay.
So the options for the vote, let's hold off on closing voting at the moment. So it's 1, for yes, to consent to allowing the use of the satellite room in the town hall annex. 2, on your handset would indicate that you reject the use of that you do not consent, therefore you disagree with the use of the satellite room. And then 3 would be an abstention, which effectively doesn't count in the vote tally for a majority vote. Does that clarify? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Apologies for not stating that beforehand. Okay, so voting is still open, and now it's closed. Okay. Okay, and it passes 151 to 1. Okay, so we are using the satellite room. Okay. Oh yes, and let's scroll through the screens. That's right. That's right. So let's scroll through the screens to check your vote. Yeah. Do we have a point of order? Yeah, Mr. Rosenthal?
Mark Rosenthal, Precinct 14. In all past years, we've always started with a test vote. Perhaps that would be a good idea right now.
Well, so we were using this, yeah, I don't know if that's a point of order, but I believe we have used the satellite room as a test vote at least some years, I think. Okay. Apologies for, I think there was a miscommunication there about the, when voting was open or when it was going to close, and I think that might have cut off some people from, yes, point of order?
How will you determine whether the people who you don't see having voted there were able to vote?
Right, I mean, it's a fair point about a test vote should be able to have the largest denominator possible so folks can tell. Yeah, let's just do it again. Can we do it again? Yeah.
Yes, I voted, but I waited until the question.
The town clerk tells me that it's fine if we just take the revote, so we'll take the revote. Okay, and voting is now open. Okay, you have 10 seconds to get your vote in. Okay, 2 seconds. Okay, let's close voting. Oh, let's see, we've doubled the number of no votes. Okay, let's cycle through now so everyone can see. Okay, we've cycled through. And why don't, since we're everyone's getting used to using the system again, or maybe for the first time for new members, can we just do like a practice speaker queue? Because I know that that's been a little confusing in the past. And so I believe the instructions I heard earlier, this might have been different from previous years, that when we're using the handsets for the speaker queue, the one button will get you onto the queue, but it'll also toggle you off the queue. That's right? Yeah. So if you want to speak, hit the one button an odd number of times. Actually, don't do that. That's a joke, because it'll take you off the queue and you lose your spot. So you try to avoid spamming the one button. Yeah, can we increase the font size on that? Okay, maybe between votes. Okay. Well, good thing we did a dry run on this. Okay. Okay. Any issues with folks not seeing their name appear? If you try hitting one again, you should see your name disappear if you're seeing it on there, just to test that out. Okay. Okay. Although now I think we're scrolled off the bottom. Is that right? So, yeah. Okay. I think that's enough practice for now. Okay. I now recognize the chair of the Select Board, Ms. Mahan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It is requested that the members of the Select Board and elected officials of the town manager, department heads of the town and staff, superintendent of schools and staff, committees, commissions, and boards of the town, Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical School District Committee and Superintendent, members of the General Court representing Arlington, members of the Arlington Retirement Board, employees and volunteers supporting electronic voting, and also any consultants who have been retained to work for the town relative to articles to be acted on by this meeting, and representatives of the news media be permitted to sit within the town meeting enclosure.
Is this something we usually vote on for this? Oh, just vote, okay. So all those in favor of what Ms. Mahan just stated, say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. Okay, it passes. Okay. The constable's return. Madam Clerk, do you have reason to believe that this meeting was appropriately called by the Select Board and that the constable made a return of service of the warrant in accordance with the laws?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The clerk says she does. Ms. Mahan?
There goes my pen. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It is moved that if all the business of the meeting is set forth in the warrant for the annual town meeting is not disposed of at this session, when the meeting adjourns, it adjourns to Wednesday, April 30th, 2025 at 8 p.m.
Okay, we have a second on the motion that if we don't finish tonight, we'll try, but if we don't finish tonight, we will adjourn until 8 p.m. on Wednesday. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. And I'll call for announcements and resolutions. Does anyone have any announcements or resolutions they would like to announce to the meeting? Okay, seeing none. That brings us to Article 2, the State of the Town Address by the Chair of the Select Board. Ms. Mahan?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And thank you, town meeting members. My name is Diane Mahan. I'm Chair of the Select Board, and along with my colleagues, the Vice Chair Len Diggins, Steve DeCourcy, Eric Helmuth, and John Hurd, we would like to welcome you to the 2025 Annual Town Meeting, an exercise in self-government which has its roots in the colonial history of our town and Commonwealth. As you all know, Arlington is a great town, and as importantly, a community which values diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we are committed to continue to build a community where everyone is heard, respected, and protected. This is a statement of principle to which the Select Board, I, and your town government are committed to. It is the rock-bed foundation upon which all else stands. I would like to applaud and thank the Arlington 250th Committee fire, police, public works department, and all the other town staff, especially our deputy town manager, Christine Bongiorno, and economic developer coordinator, Katie Lusai, for a successful, safe, and fun-filled Patriots Day weekend, including the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Menotomy and a ribbon cutting for the new Foot of the Rocks Memorial at the corner of Mass Ave and Lowell Street. This reenactment was the largest event that public safety has planned for in recent memory, and pulling this off took 2 years of planning and involved many regional agencies and resources. Speaking of public safety, the police and fire departments continue to work to maintain the highest standards of preparedness. Both departments have completed joint active shooter and hostile event response training. The fire department completed live fire training in Arlington and participated in the MBTA's multi-agency disaster training. Also, in alignment with our net zero goals, the fire department has finished converting to all electric hand tools on board apparatus, including the Jaws of Life and chainsaw, along with procured electric vehicle firefighting equipment. The police department instituted a new comfort dog program in partnership with Arlington's Rotary Club, and Arlington has also officially established a dedicated traffic unit to enhance roadway safety. As you know, roadway safety has become an even higher priority with an increase of pedestrian crashes, and Arlington Police have stepped up enforcement and continued educational campaigns through the town to improve the safety on the roadways. Public Works has been hard at work preparing for a new trash contract to begin on July 1st of this year, and the town manager and Director of Public Works is providing ongoing updates regarding trash, recycling, and yard waste changes beginning this July 1st. This will include purchase, assembly, and delivery of wheeled toters with serial numbers for both trash and recycling to every household in the community. We are proud to announce that this new automated collection program will be with our new partner, Waste Management. Also, Public Works, through its forestry division, planted over 320 trees last year and is already back at it again this spring. And to maintain this canopy, we are proud to have deployed an all-electric pickup truck equipped with watering tank and pump for our tree director. For capital projects, the much-anticipated renovated Robbins Farm Park Playground opened. The design incorporated universal design principles for accessibility and including of children of all abilities. It is even more of a point of pride for our community. And looking ahead, now or soon to be underway, are renovations to Parallel Park Playground, Menotomy Rocks Playground, and the Hills Mountain Biking Area. We also have successfully completed Phase 3 of the Arlington High School project, which included athletics and the Black Box Theater, among other programs, and Phase 4 is well underway, which I'm sure we'll hear from our colleagues on the school department from. The Department of Public Works project on Grove Street is now fully occupied and is addressing the remaining punch list items, and a ribbon cutting is planned for Public Works this week in May. This site also serves as the new home for the facilities and IT departments. The town is currently taking steps to renovate the Veterans Memorial Park in Arlington Center, and for those of you who are veterans, Arlington's Veteran Services Department Director Phil McGovern and others are ready to be of help should you need it. For policy and other decisions by the Select Board, Arlington now has a true townwide 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, and we have rescinded all special speed regulations through MassDOT. Following the recommendation of the Transportation Advisory Committee, TAC, the town has begun the process of rescinding the SSTs, removing old signage, installing new signs, and providing uniformity in allowable speeds. We've revised and modernized our alcohol policy. We no longer have a requirement that food be ordered once 2 drinks have been served. We've reduced seating minimums for all alcohol licenses and eliminated seating minimums for beer and wine licenses to assist smaller storefronts and small businesses. The board has also made permanent the overnight parking policy program. In 2018, the Select Board voted to commit Arlington to becoming carbon neutral by 2050, meaning net zero emissions of greenhouse gases from all sources. Through the board and others' efforts, Arlington became the first municipality in the state to have a default electricity product for the community. The Community Choice Aggregation Program has included a 100% Class 1 renewables, which is a goal Arlington has achieved 5 years earlier than planned. And please read the Select Board's report on our thoughts for a carbon-neutral future. We also have been advocating for CSO elimination in the Alewife Brook and recently held a meeting with other town and school officials with the MBTA General Manager, Philip Ng, and his staff to discuss the MBTA's Alewife Parking Garage project. For decades, combined sewage overflows, CSOs from that area, have had a serious impact on Arlington. When the Alewife Brook overflows, as you know, untreated CSO sewer discharges flood our parks, yards, and houses, and we have asked for solutions to address these serious public health issues as a result of the CSO discharges into the Alewife Brook. The board and our town manager have also been in correspondence with the Governor, Maura Healey, to request that the MBTA considers the detrimental impact of CSOs upon our community as part of any proposed development plan at this site. Also, I'm pleased to report that we are eligible for and receiving grants as a result of our compliance with the MBTA Communities bylaw, including $4 million for the Mass Ave and Appleton Street grants, and we intend on applying for the remainder of the needed construction funds during the FY26 grant round of the MassWorks program. The town has also initiated the Park Ave Safety Improvements Project to address safety concerns along the Park Ave corridor. This project is currently focused on designing improvements at 3 key intersections: Park Ave at Paul Revere, Park Ave at Appleton, and Park Ave at Oakland Ave. The town selected Stantec Consulting Services this year to lead the design, engineering, and public engagement phases of this project, and potential improvements could include curb extensions, pedestrian refuge islands, rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and other modifications. I now want to thank you, my colleagues here in town meeting, as well as my colleagues on the select board, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our town manager, Jim Feely, our board administrator, Ashley Marr, and especially our legal department, Mike Cunningham and Jacqueline Munson, and our deputy town manager of finance, Alex McGee, and all the other department heads. And most importantly, to the women and men of the town workforce who make all this happen and with whom we couldn't have done any of these accomplishments without them. Thank you for listening.
Great, thank you, Ms. Mahan. Can everyone still hear me now that I've readjusted my microphone? That brings us to Article 3, Reports of Committees. We'll now receive the reports of boards and committees. Yep.
I promise you, you won't be seeing that much more of me after this. Thank you. I was going to say, yeah, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff Monroe. I move that the report of the Select Board as published on the town website be received.
You have a second? And note that before we take the vote, we're not doing the paper, like the handing over of paper copies anymore. It saves me getting up and down from this chair. And the canonical version in recent years has really been what's posted on the town website anyway. So we're just kind of making that the standard practice going forward. So we have a motion and it's seconded. All those in favor of receiving the report of the Select Board say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. Let's see, Ms. Zemberry, do we have redevelopment board report?
Good evening. I'm Rachel Zemberry, Chair of the Redevelopment Board. On behalf of the board, I move that the report of the Redevelopment Board as published on the town website be received.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor of receiving the report of the Redevelopment Board as published on the town website say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is, I don't know if I heard a grumble. It is accepted by majority vote. Ms. Deschler?
Christine Deschler, Chair of the Arlington Finance Committee. I move that the recommended votes contained in the respective reports of I move that the report of the Finance Committee as published on the town website be received.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor of receiving the report of the Finance Committee as published on the town website say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. Ms. Deschler?
I move that the recommended votes contained in the respective reports of the Finance Committee, the Select Board, the Redevelopment Board, and other committees be before the meeting without further motion once each report has been received by the meeting.
Okay, we have a second. For folks who are new, who don't understand what this means, is when we receive the reports of the committees, they contain, if those reports contain recommended votes for warrant articles, then those recommended votes automatically become the main motion when those particular articles come up before the meeting, so that we don't have to recite all of that, all of the vote language each time an article comes up. So all those in favor of, and this is something standard thing that we do each year, all those in favor say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no, and it is unanimous. Ms. Deschler?
I move that Article 3 be laid upon the table.
Okay, we have a second to lay Article 3 on the table, and that's so that we can bring up Article 3 to receive more reports on future nights. All those in favor of laying Article 3 on the table say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. And it is a 2/3 vote, and I declare it. That brings us to Article 4, the appointment of the measurer of wood and bark. Do we have any nominations for the measurer of wood and bark? Yep. Oh, to the microphone. Mr. Gersh?
John Gersh, Precinct 18. I nominate John Warden.
Second. Okay, we have a nomination and we have a second. All those in favor of Mr. Warden, Mr. John Warden III, appointed as the measurer of wood and bark, say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Warden. I believe the town's tape measure is in the clerk's office, I think. Okay, that brings us to Article 5, election of assistant town moderator. Do we have any nominations for assistant town moderator? Yep. Mr. Helmuth?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Eric Helmuth, Precinct 12. I nominate Adam Auster.
Okay, we have a second to appoint Mr. Adam Oster to the continued position of assistant town moderator. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. Okay. And that would take us to Article 6, but by popular demand, we're going to do the consent agenda now. All right. Can we bring up the document for the consent agenda? And in past years, I believe Mr. Wagner had asked last year how you get access to the consent agenda in the room, because it might be hard to read the projected display. And so that is now linked off of the town meeting progress tracker page, which is arlingtonma.gov/town meeting progress. It's also linked off of the town meeting webpage. And so there's a link there for the consent agenda, which resides between the rows for Articles 5 and 6. So if you follow that link, you'll be able to see the same document that is being projected here. And so the way this is going to work is I'm going to recite each of the article numbers, and if anyone is interested in debating or discussing or applying motions to, like amendments or substitute motions to any of these articles, then you need to yell out "hold," and I'll ask for your name and precinct number, and the clerk will take a record of that, and we'll circle back to those held articles once we get back to them in the normal, natural, numeric sequence of articles. And for all of the articles that are remaining on the consent agenda that have not been held by the time we get through this exercise, we'll take one vote for all of the majority vote articles, and then if we can scroll down, there's another section for the 2/3 vote consent agenda. And so these are the articles that require a 2/3 vote. Some of them technically don't. No action articles technically don't require a 2/3 vote, but I figured it was less confusing if we put it in the 2/3 section to indicate anyone who wanted to provide a substitute motion, if their substitute motion is eventually accepted by the meeting, then the vote on that would likely be a 2/3 vote depending on the nature of their article. So there's some nuance in there. I'm not going to get into the weeds, but I categorize those no action articles as 2/3 vote because they're most likely to be if they get resurrected through a hold and a substitute motion. Okay. I probably got too much in the weeds and I apologize. Okay, so we can scroll back up. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to run through the majority vote articles on the consent agenda. So again, if you want to debate, apply motions to any of these, yell hold when I announce the number of that article. Article 34. Okay, and who is that? And Ms. Brazil, you're taking records of? You should read it aloud. Okay, so is that Mr. Crystal Reddy, is that correct? Got it. Okay, and that was Article 34, so I will delete that row and hopefully it disappears from there. There, good. Article 35. Okay, and who's holding? Mr. Loretti. Okay. Article 37. Article 41. Who's holding? Okay, Greg Dennis is holding Article 42, correct? Oh, 41, I'm still on 41, sorry. When I highlight that so we can see. Okay. Okay, Article 42. Article 47. Okay, who's holding? If you can stand, please, and announce your name. Okay, so Steve Moore is holding Article 47. Right. Article 48. Article 51. Article 56. Article 57. Okay, stand. Okay, Brooks Harrelson is holding 57. 58. Article 61. 62. 63. 65. 66. 67. 68. 69. Okay, a hold by Mr. Christopher Moore, Article 69. Okay. Article 70. 71. 72. 74. Okay. Okay. We'll run through all the holds and then we'll go back and take the 2 votes. Okay, so we're now looking at the 2/3 vote consent agenda. Article 28. Fisher, which Fisher? Andrew Fisher, thank you. Andrew Fisher is holding Article 28. Article 30. Mr. Gersh? Yeah. John Gersh is holding Article 30. Article 31. Article 36. Okay. Kristen Anderson is holding Article 36. Article 38. Okay. Andrew Greenspan is holding Article 38. If you're wondering why some of them were highlighted in yellow, because folks told me in advance they were preparing to either speak to or substitute those. So, but I didn't want to remove them so everyone was on the same page. Okay. Article, where were we up to? Let's see. Okay, 44. Article 44. Mr. Warden? Okay, Mr. John Warden is holding Article 44. Article 53. Article 54. Okay, so we have our finalized consent agendas. So let's scroll back up to the majority vote consent agenda. And so if we could just like slowly scroll through, but not too slowly, scroll through. These are all the articles that we're voting on in a batch, like just one vote that'll cover all of these. Okay. And, okay. So can we bring up a vote? Or do we, oh, yep. Okay, yep. Okay, I'll recite the numbers as we go. These are the ones that are on the consent agenda and will be voted on momentarily for majority vote articles. Articles 37, 42, 48, 51, 56, 58, 61, 62, 63, 65, 66, 67, 68, 70, 71, 72, and 74. Okay, so can we bring up a vote for the majority vote consent agenda? Okay. And the green light is on, so voting is open. So if you want to vote in support of an affirmative vote on all the articles on the consent agenda, including the no action ones, where affirmative vote means to take no action, vote 1 for yes, 2 for no, to reject the consent agenda, which means to reject all of the main motions under those articles. And voting is closing in a couple seconds. Okay, and this is a majority vote that will be applied to all of the main motions under those articles. Okay, and the vote passes. 217 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 2 abstentions. So, okay, so let's now, we can switch over to the 2/3 vote consent agenda vote. I can just tell you it's just 3 articles that are on there, Articles 31, 53, and 54. Yep, there they are. Okay. So let's bring up a vote on, and this is a 2/3 vote for these 3 articles. Okay. Voting is now open, so if you're in favor of the recommended votes for Articles 31, 53, and 54, press 1 for yes. If you're opposed to those, then press 2 for no, which will reject all of them with your vote, and 3 to abstain. Okay, voting is open just for a couple more seconds. Okay, and the vote passed. It is a 2/3 vote, 217 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 2 abstentions. Okay. And that now brings us to, I'm sorry. To Article 6. And so, Ms. Bahan, did you want to introduce the Select Board's recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As you can see from the Select Board report, we voted unanimously to recommend favorable action after a presentation by our most excellent town moderator, and I would ask that Rebecca Gruber, one of the proponents, speak to this article.
Okay, thank you.
Evening, everyone. Rebecca Gruber, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 10, and member of the Town Meeting Procedures Committee. I'm honored to present to you on behalf of the other members of the Town Meeting Procedures Committee.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gruber, sorry to interrupt. Can we open the speaker queue for this and show the speaker queue when it gets open so folks can see? Okay. Actually, we need to reset this because some of the entered times are like half an hour ago. So if we can reset that. Okay, speaker queue is now open on this. Ms. Gruber, apologize for the interruption. Go ahead.
I'm honored to present to you on behalf of the other members of the Town Meeting Procedures Committee, Mr. Ouster, Mr. Chris Moore, Mr. Warden, and Town Moderator, Mr. Christiana, our article to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of town meeting, specifically for town meetings' use of voice votes, by allowing at the option of the moderator an alternative format for indicating an affirmative or negative response, that is, yay or nay, in place of yes or no. Intent being to improve the moderator's and the meeting's ability to assess the volumes of the voice votes. To ensure that the meaning of the votes are clear, the moderator will continue to prompt the meeting prior to asking for the vote. For example, all those in favor say yay, or all those opposed say nay. And I'll also note electronic and standing votes are in no way impacted by this requested change. The Town Meeting Procedure Committee, who voted unanimous support for this article with a 4-0 vote of the 5-member committee, 1 member being absent, hopes you will also vote positively for this article. And Mr. Moderator, I would also like to make an amendment of 2 small word changes to the text of the main motion.
Okay.
Reverting back to the original wording, so changing the word may back to shall and discretion back to option. As was brought to my and the moderator's attention, this changed back wording removes any ambiguity from the forms of a voice vote that the moderator will ask of the meeting. So as amended, the changed sentence would read, all votes, unless otherwise provided by law, shall be taken in the first instance by a yes and no, or a yay and nay voice vote, or by an electronic tally at the option of the moderator.
Actually, can we present the, I know we don't have the text of that. We don't have a document to show for that because that was identified pretty late. But can we show the, let's see, Article 6 in the annotated warrant so folks can see what Ms. Gruber is referring to? Right.
So I will just reread the amendments is to change what's up there to read all votes unless otherwise provided by law shall be taken in the first instance by yes and no or yay and nay voice vote or by an electronic tally at the option of the moderator. So the word may in the first is being changed back to shall, and discretion is being changed back to option in my amendment. And Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the motion on the floor.
Okay. So we'll have debate, and then we'll vote on that amendment. That is now before. We have a second on that amendment. And I just wanted to clarify as well, the recommended vote from the Select Board as written here, where it replaces shall with may, is actually not in scope because it would give the moderator discretion to use a potentially different method of voting that's not explicitly enumerated here, which is not the intention, and I certainly wouldn't intend to exercise that ability, but you never know who you might get in the future. So, and so this just keeps it limited to the explicitly listed methods of voting by using the word shall. So, yeah. Ms. Gruber, anything? Oh, great, thank you, Ms. Gruber. Okay, Mr. Warden, you are the first in the speaker queue. And while Mr. Warden is coming up to the podium, I just want to remind folks that the word Y-E-A is pronounced yay, not yeah. Because if it was yeah and nay, we'd be back where we started with yes and no. So.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Well, I stand to...
name and precinct, please. Sorry.
John Worden, Precinct 8, a member of the Procedures Committee. It's the only meeting of the Procedures Committee I ever missed, So I did not vote for this change. Had I been there, I would have been the one dissenting vote. So I just want that to be clear. When the rules of town meeting were first put in the bylaws of the town, it's long before I think anyone in this room was even alive. They've been there forever. They decided, instead of using the language of the 17th century, that they'd use the language that we modern Arlingtonians use every day. And so we say yes, we don't say yay. Do you want to go to dinner tonight? Yay. No, we don't say that. We say yes. So that's what was thoughtfully drafted by the people who first created these rules. I know, and so I don't see why we should revert to the 17th century. I mean, we're going to go back and say women can't vote, something like that? I don't think so. So why don't we just continue to use the words that we use, every day. And I mean, I've been here for a long time, and the moderators I've known, Larry Cochran has served for 21 years. Harry McCabe served for 12 years. I served for 19 years. John Leone served for 14 years. None of us had any difficulty in ascertaining whether the yes or no votes prevailed. And there's a system in the bylaws that specifically says if the moderator is in doubt or if 5 people arise, you can have a standing vote. Of course, we don't do standing votes anymore, but we can have a clicker vote. So there's very little chance that something's going to go wrong. So I would urge you to let's stick with the language of the not only the 20th, the 21st, but even the 19th century, and let's stick with yes or no, like we've always done in this meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Warden. Actually, I'm just noting, maybe this is something we can fix at the break, but I'm not able to see the speaker queue at all times, but we can come back to that. Let's see, Mr. Ezra Fisher, and then we'll take Mr. Wagner after that.
Ezra Fisher, Precinct 4. I'm not going to repeat what Mr. Warden said, but thank you, Mr. Warden. I just want to add that I really would like town meeting to be friendly to new people who would like to be town meeting members and also to the public who might potentially watch us do our thing. And I think yay and nay is a small thing, but it just pushes us into the sort of the wrong direction of being a special club with special language. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Mr. Wagner? And then after Mr. Wagner, we'll take Mr. Adam Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. I don't know how I'm going to vote on this yet, but it seems to me the biggest question we have to ask when things go forward in law changes is, what problem is this solving, or how are things better after this? And I noticed that the report of the Select Board unanimously supports this 5-0, so that's something for us to consider. But could I ask you, Mr. Moderator, through whoever you want to perhaps answer me and the body, what problem are we solving, or how is this better?
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that, what the intention was, because I added this to the agenda for the Town Meeting Procedures Committee, and the intention of introducing this to that committee to then request this article of the Select Board was that in my experience as moderator, the being able to audibly discern the volume levels between yes and no votes. They have different vowel sounds to them, and they don't have the same. We don't have the same perception of volume levels from those two sounds. Whereas yay and nay, the intention is not to turn the clock back, but to reuse terms from the past which happen to have the same vowel sound. That yay and nay, one doesn't sound inherently louder than the other because they end in the same sounds. And that was the motivation.
Thank you. My understanding has been helped by that. So I understand that yay and nay are similar, so the volume can be judged better. Does this imply that yay and nay and yes and no would all be running, all four words at the same time, or?
Oh, no. So the way I imagine it working out in practice, which I think Ms. Gruber mentioned, was that customarily when the moderator introduces a voice vote, like at our town meeting, it'll sound like all those in favor say yes, there's a chorus of yeses, all those opposed say no, and there's a chorus of no's maybe, and we would just swap out the words yes and no for yay and nay at the moderator's discretion. Could still use yes and no, but would have the option of using yay and nay. So it would sound like all those in favor say yay, all those opposed say nay.
So I'm sorry to be a bit daft, but you said so it would not be at concurrent words of yes and yay and
No, it would be
and nay.
whatever the moderator's discretion calls for, which would be announced to the meeting at the time of the vote.
I'm still not clear, I'm sorry.
Okay, so for instance, like if this were to pass and the Attorney General approved it, then at the next annual town meeting, the moderator would have the discretion to call a vote such as all those in favor say yay. Now, if folks at that point still say yes, it would probably confuse things, and it would sound like a muddled response. And so it might take a little bit of relearning of these traditions of how we take voice votes. But the moderator would call for like either yes or yay, but the meeting would have to respond with only that. We're just like today, it's like if I say all those in favor of yes and a bunch of people say no, it just kind of messes up the vote, right? And so it'd be a similar case if folks said yes and yay at the same time, and the moderator's instruction would tell them which word to use in each case.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Yep. Mr. Lane?
Adam Lane, Precinct 3. Verily, I doth move the debate be ended.
Okay, we have a second to endeth the debate. Okay. And this is a two-thirds vote to, so all those in favor say yes? Yes. All those opposed say no? No. See, I can't tell because it's, I believe debate is terminated. It could be challenged, but I believe debate is terminated. Do we have a point of order? A point of order? Yeah.
Microphone.
Oh, yeah, I think they're working on the font size for the speaker queue. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. I believe at the break we'll be handing out opera glasses. Okay, so debate is terminated. I don't see any challenges to that. So that brings us now to the main motion. I'm sorry, with the, oh, thank you. We have the amendment first, Ms. Gruber's amendment. If we could bring up the vote language again. Okay, so with Ms. Gruber's amendment, the only insertion into the town bylaws that, like, if her amendment passes, the main motion would include an insertion only of the text or yay and nay, and would have no other changes proposed to the bylaws. And so that's the vote that we're going to take up first, is a majority vote on the Gruber amendment to remove the changes of the words shall to may and option to discretion, leaving only the insertion of or, yea, and nay. Okay? And so if this vote passes, then we'll only have the one insertion of that one phrase in the main motion. And then we'll have another vote on whether to accept that. And if the Gruber amendment fails, then what you see here is what we vote on for the main motion. Okay. Okay, so let's bring up a vote on the Gruber amendment, which I don't know, do we have a slide for that, like a voting slide for that? It's just called amendment because we didn't have this in advance. So let's open voting, and if you're in favor of changing the main motion so it's only inserting the phrase or yay and nay and removing the other edits, then vote 1 for yes or vote 2 for no to leave the motion unamended, the main motion unamended. Okay, get your votes in. Okay, let's close voting. And the Gruber amendment passes, 176 in the affirmative, 37 in the negative, 4 abstentions. So we now have the main motion as amended by the Gruber amendment, which only inserts the text or yay and nay immediately after by a yes and no in the town bylaws. So I'll just read that sentence since we don't have it in writing in front of us. It would change the town bylaws, Title 1, Article 1, Section 10, Part C, to read, all votes unless otherwise provided by law may be taken, I'm sorry. Let's start over. All votes unless otherwise provided by law shall be taken in the first instance by a yes and no, or yay and nay voice vote, or by an electronic tally at the option of the moderator. So that's now what we're voting on, is just inserting the text or yay and nay right after yes and no. I had no idea it would take this long to get through this article. But, okay, so we're now going to take a vote on the main motion as amended by the Gruber amendment. Okay, voting is open. And so press 1 for yes to amend the town bylaws by inserting that phrase yay and nay, or to leave the town bylaws without change, without amendment, press 2 for no. Okay, let's close voting. And it passes. 187 say yay, say yes, 32 no, and 1 abstention. I can't actually use it until it goes through the AG's office because we would not be complying with our current bylaws. Okay, that takes us to Article 7. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The board voted unanimously on this warrant article after hearing from our Sustainability Manager, Talia Fox, and I ask that she come up and present the article.
Okay.
Good evening, Talia Fox, Sustainability Manager. Thank you, town meeting members, for the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
I'm sorry, Ms. Fox, I'm sorry to interrupt again.
We need slides.
Yeah, we need this. Do we have the slides available? And also, can we open the speaker queue? Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So if we can get the, can we show the speaker queue and clear that so everyone's, okay, speaker queue is open. And the slides, all right. We'll get this right within a few articles, I promise. Okay, Ms. Fox, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm here to provide some background information for Warrant Article 7, Energy Efficiency and Electrification Revolving Fund. Next slide, please. Warrant Article 7 proposes to establish a revolving fund into which federal, state, and utility grants, rebates, incentives, and credits for energy-related projects could be deposited. These funds would then be utilized for future energy projects. Next slide, please. For some background, Arlington is lucky to be the recipient of external funds for projects related to energy efficiency, renewable energy, and electrification. We've received over $2 million in incentives, grants, rebates, and credits since 2020 alone. These include recent utility rebates for heat pumps at the Robbins Cottage, state rebates and federal grants for electric school buses, and incentives for the electricity that our solar panels produce. Next slide, please. The town accounts for these funds differently, depending on where they come from and when. Often, especially in the case of rebates or credits, the money will arrive after the town completes a project. In some cases, the money must be deposited into the general fund. While this does help to offset town costs overall, funds intended for energy projects may be spent on projects unrelated to energy. Next slide, please. This disconnect becomes very apparent in the case of the elective pay or direct pay program, a new component of the federal tax code established through the Inflation Reduction Act. This provision allows tax-exempt entities like Arlington to claim credits for projects like solar arrays, electric vehicles, and geothermal systems. The funds associated with these credits are likely to arrive months after project completion because the town must first file tax documents following the close of the year in which the project was put into service. The town is expecting to receive over $200,000 for projects in fiscal years 2025 and 2026 through direct pay, which would be deposited into the general fund in the absence of a dedicated energy revolving fund. Next slide, please. Having a dedicated energy revolving fund would be specifically advantageous to the town as it pursues its climate goals. Grants and rebates do not typically fully cover project costs, and the town presently does not have a dedicated budget for sustainability and energy projects. The only somewhat flexible funding source is the Green Repairs Fund in the Facilities Department's operating budget, but this source is intended primarily for building efficiency and maintenance projects. Sometimes, unexpected energy project or grant opportunities arise. The ability to draw funds from a dedicated source would enable the town to take advantage of these opportunities quickly and easily. Next slide, please. Furthermore, a revolving fund could support projects for which upfront cost may be a barrier. This will become increasingly important as the town works to electrify our buildings, which will require significant investment. Currently, the capital plan must bear the full cost of certain energy projects due to the uncertainty regarding whether and when the town will receive incentives or grants. Instead, funds received for completed energy projects and deposited into the revolving fund could be reinvested in future projects, offsetting the capital funding request for those projects. For example, last year, town meeting approved funds to cover the full cost of purchasing a solar array for the Bishop Elementary School via the capital budget. The capital budget had to bear the full cost of the project due to the uncertainty of when the town will receive the federal direct pay credit. For a future solar project, the amount of the anticipated project credit could be drawn from the revolving fund, with the capital plan covering only the net cost after the credit. The project incentive would later be deposited into the fund after the project is complete and would be available to offset the cost of the next project. Eligible projects would include not only solar arrays, but also electric vehicles or charging stations, building efficiency projects like weatherization and efficient lighting, decarbonization projects like heat pumps, and solar arrays, among other related projects. Next slide, please. If the revolving fund is established, the sustainability manager would work with the town manager to determine an annual spending cap, which would then be authorized by annual town meeting each year. The proposed cap for fiscal year 2026 is $250,000, based on funds the town anticipates receiving for upcoming projects. This cap could change year to year, depending on projected funding and spending. Finally, I just want to note that other communities have similar revolving funds, including Acton, Natick, Newburyport, Somerville, and Salem, among others. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. And I believe we have an amendment by Mr. Helmuth.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Eric Helmuth, member of the Select Board and town meeting member from Precinct 12. Mr. Moderator, are you still doing paper for amendments?
What's that?
No, that's fine.
No, we don't need it now.
Okay,
No.
very good. Thank you. I have two technical corrections, and this is corrections to the Select Board report as printed and posted online, not to the actual vote that we took on February 24th. The first is that the printed report did not include the portion of our vote that set an expenditure limit, a cap of $250,000. And the second correction was just that was deleting some text that was erroneously added to our vote, or take any action related thereto that was just left over from the warrant article. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Great. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. So Mr. Helmuth's amendment is now before us as well. Let's switch over to the speaker queue. Okay, Mr. Tremblay, you're first up. Is yeah, Mr. Tremblay's coming. And then after Mr. Tremblay, we'll take Mr. Bear, Mr. Paul Bear.
Hey, Tremblay, Precinct 19. I'm just curious, Mr. Moderator, does this give the town the ability to enter into projects without going through town meeting?
Let's say, Mr. Cunningham, do you want to take that?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Cunningham, Town Council. In my opinion, no, it does not.
Okay. And then the other question I have is in the town's efforts to become fully electrified, I'm just curious where does anybody know where we're going to put the substation?
Mr. Moderator, I don't think that one's for me.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to decide whether this is within scope. I'm looking at the, I don't think so, no. Okay, thank you. I'll take Mr. Bear next. Yes, from the balcony.
Paul Bear, Precinct 13. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Could you put the slides back up that Ms. Fox showed?
Can we switch over to the slides? Was there a specific slide you wanted to see?
Right at the beginning.
Okay.
And if town meeting members could also bring up in their hands, I suppose, the motion that the select board has made. If you look through the motion and you look through the slides, there is no connection between them at all. The slides talk about taking rebates and solar credits from the state and the federal government and utilities. The motion of the select board says nothing about that. It says that the money will come from fees and charges assessed by the Department of Planning and Community Development under the direction of the department's direction. And I also have to disagree with the town council who said that this money could not be spent without town meeting approval. If you look at the second paragraph in the motion, it says that the money will be spent, that the Department of Planning and Community Development, with the authorization of the town manager, may incur liabilities against and spend money from said fund for projects. It's the planning department and the town manager who decide how the money has been spent according to this motion. I very much support the original ideas in the original article, but the motion as proposed does absolutely none of what was intended in the original article. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Do you have any question, or do you want to direct to anybody, or just leave it at that?
I will just leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Greenspan? Pass. Mr. Baudouin?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Vincent Baudouin, Precinct 1. I do have a follow-up question on that same line in the first paragraph of the recommended vote, which refers to fees and charges associated with energy use in municipal and school buildings. The question is, as worded, it does seem vague. Is this fund intended to be used to pay for the electricity bills of municipal buildings? And so I'd just like to ask if there's someone who could provide clarification. Is this the correct wording? Thank you.
Okay. Either Ms. Fox or Mr. Cunningham? Do you want to take that? Or Town Manager? Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. This fund would not be intended to pay for utility costs or utility bills associated with buildings.
Thank you. And the wording, credits associated, et cetera, that is intended to cover money that might be received by the town in terms of grants and other forms of assistance from federal and state government. Is that correct? It's just a question from the point of view of someone who doesn't know a lot about finance.
Yeah, Mr. Cunningham or Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Cunningham, Town Council. If I think I understand your question, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, we'll take Mr. Loretti next, followed by Mr. Jamison.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Chris Loretti, Precinct 7. I have a question about monies that might go into this fund. I'd like to give a concrete example. When the high school was built, they spent quite a bit of money on an all-electric heating system. And I think it was with the expectation that there would be rebates, either from the state or federal government. If this article had been in place, would those rebates have gone into this fund?
Let's say Ms. Fox.
Yes, that is a great example.
I'm sorry, can you introduce yourself first?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Talia Fox, Sustainability Manager. Yes, those utility rebates, the state utility rebates would have gone into that fund as opposed to into the general fund.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I have a real problem with this. And the reason I mentioned that specific example is one of the selling points of the high school, as I remember it, is that the extra cost of these highly energy efficient systems would offset the energy cost and the town would benefit in the long run. And I would suggest that the rebates should really go on to paying the debt, paying the debt cost, the bonding cost on the high school so that the taxpayers really benefit. If we're going to be paying higher cost for these things, then the money is going to another fund. And as I read it, just like Mr. Bear, it's at the discretion of the town manager and the planning department. And it doesn't even seem to me that the capital planning committee has any say in it. Town meeting doesn't have any say in it except for this cap. And so I'm going to be voting against this, not because I'm necessarily disagree with the expenditures, but it really takes town meeting out of the picture in terms of how the money is spent and even how some of these projects are funded to begin with. So, frankly, it seems like by voting on this, we're adopting the posture of Republicans in Congress who say, well, just let the administration do anything it wants. And I'm not prepared to do that. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Loretti. Let's keep the commentary about national politics limited to my opening remarks. Mr. Jamison?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Gordon Jamison, Precinct 12. So the schools have quite a set of solar cells on top of their buildings. Does the school have its own fund for this money, or is this all going into the purview of the town manager and the planning department?
Do you have someone who can answer that, Mr. McGee or Mr. Feeney?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Alex McGee, Deputy Town Manager. This would be exclusively into the planning department. This would not be into a school revolving fund.
But this is one of the town's revolving funds that is under the control of the select board, correct?
Correct.
The ones that are in the back of our finance book
Correct.
every year. So the monies will be expended under whose authority?
Under the town manager's authority.
And the money comes from projects that are both on town and school buildings, correct?
Correct.
So why does the school not have any say? You're taking money out of what I think is the school cash flow, and you're putting it into the town cash flow, and I disagree with that.
I'm not going to posture to agree or disagree, but all of these projects would come through the normal capital planning committee's annual process. So those are what would generate the sort of rebates that are coming back.
But the article has nothing about the capital planning committee approving it, and has nothing about, as I believe Ms. Fox mentioned, approval by town meeting other than what I was setting the cap.
Right. The projects that generate these are always run through the capital plan. We wouldn't be doing a six-figure or $1 million project without capital having a say in it. That is what then would generate a rebate that would come back, go into this revolving fund, and then become an engine to fund those similar projects into the future, also through the capital.
Yeah, so the reason I'm being sticky on this is the fact that this is going to be a much larger fund in the future, I envision, as we do these larger projects and we get larger rebates. And so when we do a large project in the schools, yes, through the capital plan, monies that we all produce and use, but then the money comes to the town. And the money should be going to the schools somehow more directly. So I will be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. It's 9:33. Let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back to debate, and we'll pick up with Mr. Levy and Mr. Kepline. Great, thanks. 10 minutes. Okay, everyone, we're getting started right now. So I said that after the break, we would take Mr. Levy and Mr. Kepline. We're going to do something a bit different, though, because I got new information during the break, which actually corroborates something actually Mr. Baer, you had emailed me earlier about this, which I didn't quite understand in our email exchange, and others have voiced, I think, the same basic argument, and I am now convinced that the main motion under Article 7, the recommended vote of the Select Board, is actually not within scope. And this is exciting, right? So the article's already before us, and so to give us more time, and I'm taking kind of a conservative view here to slow things down on this article so that we do have more time to assess the questions raised by Mr. Baer and others during the break about scope. And so because of that, I cannot allow the meeting to vote on a main motion that is out of scope. So because of that, at this point, I would entertain a motion to postpone so that there's more time to sort that out. Okay? So Mr. Tosti?
Al Tosti, Precinct 17. I move to postpone this until Monday, May 5th.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to postpone Article 7 until Monday, May 5th, which is a majority vote. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. Okay, it is unanimous. So we are postponing Article 7 until Monday, May 5th. Okay, so that takes us now to Article 8. Mr. Cunningham, do you want to introduce this?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Cunningham, Town Council. I want to introduce Article 8. It was approved by the Select Board. The draft motion is before you. This is an attempt to amend our bylaw to make it consistent with the recently passed state legislation known as Ollie's Law. It's an attempt to make kennels more safe for dogs. This particular article in the motion were worked on extensively by Deputy Town Council Jacqueline Munson and our Town Clerk Julie Brazil, so I was going to hand it off at this time to Attorney Munson for an explanation of the changes it makes to our, or the proposed changes it makes to our bylaw.
Attorney Munson? And before she begins, can we open the speaker queue on show the speaker queue for this article? Okay, great. Speaker queue is now open. Ms. Munson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jacqueline Munson, Deputy Town Council. So, as Attorney Cunningham said, the purpose of this was really just to bring the town's bylaw into compliance with a new state law that the purpose of which was to provide more protections for dogs and kennels and also kind of give the town more of a, I guess, role in making sure that there are inspections on a yearly basis. So I'm just going to go through some of the legal changes and then I'll let the clerk talk about some things that she's going to present on a PowerPoint. So the bill took effect in September of last year. The Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources is going to be responsible for promulgating some regulations. They don't have to do that until June 2026. So until that time, there's not going to really be any specific standards for commercial boarding and training facilities, which leaves a little bit of a gap period. However, once those regulations are promulgated, we'll have some more direction. But essentially now, commercial boarding and training kennels must maintain records of individual dog licenses. They also have to report to the licensing authority any injuries to animals or dogs. And this is because the purpose of this law, there was a dog that was mauled in a kennel, and so that's what these regulations are really, or what the statute's really aiming to prevent in the future. Municipalities are going to be required as of June 1st of this year to submit a list of kennels that operate in the town. Dogs over 6 months of age are going to be required to wear rabies tags. And the town has to have a process for issuing and revoking kennel licenses. And the maximum number of animals must be determined by our animal control officer and the licensing authority. The town has the flexibility to determine the time periods for licensing requirements, but a kennel license cannot be issued until it passes a kennel inspection, and also can't be renewed until it passes that inspection. In terms of definitions, there really was only one major change. The statute added the definition of licensee, which is a person who's obtaining a license for the purpose of maintaining a kennel. And there were several things that did not change, including the fact that a person maintaining one has to obtain a license. Private kennels still are 4 or more dogs. Commercial kennels are 1 or more dogs. And dogs under 3 months of age are not going to count for those licensing purposes. And I'll turn it over to the clerk.
And Ms. Brazil, okay, the presentation's ready? Okay, go ahead.
So Julie Brazil, Town Clerk. I'm going to just step very lightly through. Attorney Munson just reviewed basically the reasons for the changes to Section 5 on kennels, but since we were already amending the canine bylaw, we thought it was a good idea to clean up a little more language, and I'm just going to touch on sort of the reasons for those changes. So next slide. So she has explained Ollie's Law. In the earlier sections, we want to use a little more of the language directly from state law, cut and paste directly, which is kind of how the bylaw started, but as the state changes the laws, sometimes our bylaw drifts away. So we went through and pulled as much language directly from state law into our bylaw, which I think makes it easier for residents if they're really Googling. If the language is an exact match, they're sure they're in the right section. And then we removed a couple outdated references. Next slide. So Section 1 of our bylaw kind of defines dogs and nuisance and dangerous dogs and the rules for chaining and tethering. And this is just pulling directly from the state law, the Mass General Law, and use their language as much as possible. Next slide. Section 2, with the leashing, that section does contain more Arlington-specific language, where we define our dog parks and off-leash rules. And the Bayer Amendment, which has been submitted, proposes restoring a very specific phrase that says leash dogs who are not in an off-leash dog park and not on private property need to be on a 6-foot leash only. And we're suggesting that we restore that, which is not in conflict with the changes that the Attorney Munson and I have proposed. Next slide, Section 4. Exemptions to licensing. The changes are just straight from the Mass General Law. That section, if you're looking at it, we're going to take away the part that we need to be sure that we're not charging. Is that exemption for seniors? Which? Oh, research institutions. So it just clarifies exemptions for who needs licensing. Sorry. Next slide. Section 4 on fees. A few years ago, we changed our fees so that the late fees were reduced from 50 to 25 to make it a little less stressful if you made a mistake licensing your dog. That introduced a little bit of confusion, and so we've inserted a sentence to clarify. If you're late, that's kind of an administrative fee, and that's just kind of added on to the check you write at the clerk's office. However, that does not mean that at the same time, a police officer can't issue a $50 ticket because that's in state law for a dog that's not licensed. So we're just kind of adding some clarity in Section 4. Next slide, Section 4, on the fees, we are not, we need to waive all the fees for service animals, so we struck some language about late fees apply. Next slide, Section 4, fees, we are striking the part that says we don't charge people 70 and older. Because the way it was worded in the bylaw, it said, once we pass, once we adopt this part of state law that says we don't do that, which is an option, then we won't do it, but we never did it. And if you're confused, so we're gonna take it out and put it back in next year, assuming town meeting agrees. As a practice, I'm not gonna charge people over 70, I'm not gonna make any change because that was never the intent. The intent of town meeting was always to make sure that people 70 and older didn't pay fees. We just need to get the paperwork, the bylaw right. So there's no change in practice. We're gonna strike it to clean it up, and then we'll put it back next year. And then the last section is kennels, and so we're available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brazil. And then we have an amendment that we'll take before we head into the speaker queue from Mr. Baer. Mr. Baer, do you want to offer your amendment?
Paul Baer, Precinct 13. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. For those who have the Select Board report, the amendment involves language on page 11. For those who have the annotated warrant, search down for the words leash required.
And can we show that on the display here, the Bayer amendment, please? Yep.
So I'm not sure why this was, why the Select Board chose to remove the leash length part of the bylaw, but I believe that it's important to have a limit on the length of a leash that people can use when they're out walking their dogs. A leash that's, for instance, a retractable leash can be as long as 20 or even 30 feet. And if a dog is 30 feet from their owner leash, the owner does not have very much control of the dog. So in order to keep the dog safe and any other dogs or people walking safe, it's important that the dog be leashed on a suitably short leash so that the owner can keep control. And so this amendment puts back into the bylaw the words leash not exceeding 6 feet in length. Thank you.
Along with the word and.
Along with the word and, so that it's still in accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 114.
Right, so it's an addition to the accordance with the MGL. So do we have a motion? Do you want to make your?
So I move that amendment.
Okay, do we have a second? Yes. Okay, the Bayer amendment is before us as well as the main motion. Thank you. Okay. And can we switch over to the speaker queue? And so let's take Ms. Lutzke first. It doesn't say what her intent is, but I assume it's to speak on the motion. Ms. Lutzke? Okay, well, if she appears, we can circle back. Let's see, Ms. Friedman? And then we'll take Mr. Benson after that.
Beth Ann Friedman, Precinct 15. And I originally was going to request to amend the main motion, Section 3, Part F, 3B, that pertains to removing the waiving of fees for Arlington residents over 70. And I wanted to reinstate that wording. I wanted to ask the town clerk why the wording is being taken out of this particular amendment with assurances is going to be put back in. I don't understand why it's being taken out to begin with.
Ms. Brazil?
Julie Brazil, Town Clerk. This was on the recommendation and discussion with Attorney Munson. You just don't write a bylaw that says someday we'll do something, and then we just didn't do it. I don't know why. It was years before. It was before I was clerk. So we need to take it out because it's just weird to have something in the bylaw that says we'll do something if we vote to do it. And we haven't voted to do it. So we're going to take it out. We're not going to change our practice, and we'll put it back in.
Can we show Article 8 from the annotated warrant? If you search for 70, like digits 70, it's the only occurrences on the page are in the stricken section. Can we show that?
It's going to be hard to scroll through this many pages.
Ms. Friedman, did you have any more to comment or question? Yeah.
No, but what I would like to do is, again, make a substitute motion to put that back in. Because I don't understand, then it would be part of the bylaw.
So we're accepting part of state law, and to do that, that needs to be in the warrant. So it would be out of scope to make that change. It was while we were reviewing the bylaw that we realized the inconsistency.
Okay, so this raises an interesting question, which is, Ms. Brazil, are you suggesting that if we leave that text, the owner age 70 and over, and the sentence after, the paragraph after that, if we leave that in the town bylaws, we would be out of scope from the article text? Ms. Munson, do you want to clarify?
Jacqueline Munson, Deputy Town Council. So the reason it was taken out is because in order for us to have that in there and actually act upon it as a legal practice, we would have to, at the next town meeting, adopt that other statute. But because we never did that, like the clerk said, it's kind of aspirational, and so it's not something that legally we have done yet, so that's why I recommended that it be removed.
All right, thank you very much.
And can we show the text on screen so everyone else can follow? Let's say this is Article 8 in the annotated warrant. If you, not the Bayer Amendment, but the Article 8 page itself in the annotated warrant, and then search for 70. Yeah. And so part of what's stricken out is, owner age 70 and over, if the town so votes in accordance with section 139C, I think it is, of chapter 140 of the general laws, no fee shall be charged for the licensure of a dog owned by a person aged 70 years and older. Late fees apply. And so is it an issue, Ms. Munson, that it was legally problematic to leave that clause in the bylaws with the other changes?
Jacqueline Munson, Deputy Town Council. It's cleaner to not have it in because it says if the town so votes, and the town has not voted to accept that statute yet. So having it in there, you don't, as the clerk said, you don't typically have things in bylaws that you haven't done yet. So the idea is that it would be taken out, voted on at the next town meeting, and then it could go in there with more legal force than it has now, which is none.
I see. So we were not subject to that law because of this conditional in there, if the town so votes and the town has not voted.
So it's a separate statute that requires local acceptance, and because we haven't accepted it locally yet, then it being in there is aspirational. It doesn't have any legal impact. So in order for it to have some legal force, we could present it at the next town meeting, and then, as the clerk said, in practice, she would not change anything, but legally, we would be able to put it in writing once we vote to accept that local statute.
Okay, so just to be clear for the meeting, for everyone following, that this clause has not been in effect because the town has not voted in accordance with that referenced state law, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So both in practice and legally, that clause currently has no effect.
Correct.
Is that true? Okay. Ms. Friedman, did you make a motion when you were up here, Ms. Friedman? And do you still wish to?
So let me just understand. If I make the motion to put it back in, it might not have any legal standing, but at least it will still be back in, and it might trigger someone to actually put in the bylaws next year, as opposed to, I'm asking.
Ms. Bunsen?
No, happy to provide the explanation. So if it goes back in, it won't mean anything because we haven't adopted that yet. And so legally speaking, it's better to just not have it in there until we actually do it, because it's almost misleading to have it in there because there's no legal backup for doing it because we haven't accepted it at town meeting yet. So that would happen next year. So it being in there would not necessarily mean that it would go to town meeting next year. It's obviously been in here for quite some time. So the idea is that removing it would just make the bylaw clearer, more understandable, and be up to date with the legal force of that.
So next year, we need a special town warrant article to put it in the bylaws,
So
even though it's been the practice for a number of years.
Right, so it would be essentially the town, it would be a warrant article to accept section 139C of chapter 140.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I would withdraw my substitute motion.
It was never accepted in the first place. Okay, so let's go back to the speaker queue. Let's see, Mr. Benson, and then, well, we already had Mr. Bear. I don't know if he had more to add than his amendment, so we'll skip him, and then Mr. Kloss. Mr. Benson?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening. Eugene Benson, Precinct 10. I have a few questions for the town clerk.
Okay.
The town clerk and I exchanged some emails this afternoon, and I think she's going to make some administrative corrections, and I thought it would be good if the town meeting could understand those.
All right. Julie Brazil, Town Clerk. So on the reports, in the reports section of the town meeting page is a memo called Corrections to Reports, and that's where we keep track of typos that we can just kind of correct because it's obviously wrong, as opposed to something that would change the substance of the vote. So if you are looking at your select board report, we can walk through those corrections. On page 4, towards the bottom, there's a paragraph that says a child age 7 shall be rebuttably presumed, and we're going to say a child under age 7, which is what the bylaw currently says. So that was just a typo introduced into the report. On page 8 of the report, 4 lines down, there's 2 periods. We'll fix that. On page 10 of the report, in section 7A, there's a sentence where we use the word pavement, and it should be payment. The owner may retrieve the animal only after payment of all charges, so we'll fix that. Also on page 10, in 8A, we have a couple missing words and a couple sentences. So 8A says, as the proposed amendment reads, a person who violates this section B, 1 through 6, which have been listed previously, for first offense, shall be issued. Shall is missing, and so we'll put that back. And then in 8B, also on page 10, that first sentence would read, a person who violates section B7 shall be issued a civil infraction punishable by a fine, and we'll insert the word issued, which was left out. And then on page 11, under A, leash required in the third paragraph, we're going to keep the bylaw as it is and just say this provision shall not apply, as opposed to the recommended change that says strikes provision and inserts section. So we're cleaning up stuff that's in the bylaw now and fixing some typos. Is that what you needed?
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Now I have a
Do we have that written?
It's in the corrections memo.
Okay. And that's the memo that's live on the town meeting page right now? Yep. Okay.
I have a question for town council or deputy town council. In the section that Mr. Bear is going to amend, where he wants to have the 6 feet in length, it references Mass General Law, Chapter 40, it's Chapter 140, Section 174E. Is there anything in that chapter that requires that such dog be restrained by a chain or leash?
Ms. Munson?
Deputy Town Council Jacqueline Munson, yes.
Can you tell me where it says that in?
In Chapter 140, in Section 174E,
Yeah,
titled Chaining or Tethering Dogs.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Benson. So I will take Mr. Newton next, and then Mr. Jalkut. Unless debate gets terminated. But go ahead, Mr.
Sanjay Newton, Precinct 10. I move to terminate debate on this article and all items underneath it.
Okay, we have a second on a motion to terminate debate. All those in favor of terminating debate say yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. No. It is terminated by a 2/3 vote. So the first point of order. If 5 people stand to challenge the voice vote. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Monks, are you standing to challenge? No. We didn't have 5, so, okay. Okay. So first we're going to take up a vote on the Bayer amendment, which inserts the text, amend the main motion to reintroduce the text, quote, not exceeding 6 feet in length, end quote, followed by the word and. So everyone should have a copy of that. So, okay, we're opening voting on the Bayer amendment under Article 8. If you're in favor of making that change to add the limit on the 6 feet leash length, press 1 for yes, 2 for no to reject the amendment. Okay, last chance for votes. Let's close voting. And the Bayer amendment passes 150 in the affirmative, 48 in the negative, 9 abstentions. So that now amends the main motion. And so now we'll take a vote on the main motion to amend the town bylaws, Title 8, Article 2, to make changes, various changes, which I'm not going to try to summarize, to the canine control. Okay, voting is now open. If you're in favor of amending the town bylaws by the main motion as amended by the Bayer amendment, press 1 for yes. And if you want to leave the town bylaws as is, then press 2 for no, or 3 to abstain. Okay, let's close voting. And the motion passes, 200 in the affirmative, 8 in the negative, and 5 abstentions. Okay. That takes us to Article, Article 9. Ms. Mahan, you want to introduce this?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As you can see, the board voted unanimous favorable action on this warrant article, but it was held over 2 nights of board hearings as individual board members had more questions in terms of the process and what exactly was done. And I would ask if the town manager, Mr. Feeney, could get up and explain exactly how it came to this recommended vote.
Okay. Before we take Mr. Feeney, can we just open the speaker queue and present that? Okay, speaker queue is open. Mr. Feeney, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Jim Feeney, Town Manager. So briefly, Article 9 seeks to amend the Human Resources Bylaw found in Title I, Article 6 of the town's bylaws. Specifically, the bylaw amendment looks to change the treatment of holidays that fall on a Saturday, converting them from so-called floating holidays, which can be administratively burdensome to administer, to a clearly defined holiday observance. So making this change in the bylaws will bring consistency between non-union staff, as covered by the bylaw, and unionized employees whose collective bargaining agreements for the period beginning July 1, 2024, ratified this same change throughout the union agreements. So though it will be a relatively infrequent occurrence, the currently recognized holidays that fall on a date certain and could land on a Saturday in a given year include New Year's Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Veterans Day, and Christmas Day. So state law actually governs the treatment of Sunday holidays and requires their observance on the following Monday. Here, Saturday holidays would be observed on the preceding Friday. So this change will bring greater clarity to holiday observances for both staff and the general public with regard to expectations for administrative offices. An example to illustrate this is in 2023, Veterans Day fell on a Saturday. Under our current practice, we were open for business on the preceding Friday. However, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the federal government, surrounding municipalities, other organizations, all observed Veterans Day on the preceding Friday. Again, we were open for business, which was likely not expected by residents, especially given that Arlington Public Schools were closed, and as I said, as were other governmental agencies and offices in surrounding communities. Looking ahead, this will happen again in 2026 when July 4th falls on a Saturday. So the federal government has already published they will observe this day on Friday the 3rd, and I suspect the state and other organizations will do the same. But as it currently stands, we would need to find a way to sufficiently staff offices on this day, a day when it is likely that the public would not expect or seek our services. So this change will ensure that all town employees, including both unionized and non-unionized personnel, have the opportunity to enjoy that holiday respite and participate in any of the activities tied to that underlying holiday at the same time as family and friends. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Feeney. Can we show the speaker queue? We don't have Mr. Ezra Fisher. Pass. Ms. Nancy Bloom.
Nancy Bloom, Precinct 18. Just a very minor question. On the list of holidays, it lists Christmas Day separate from Christmas. I was wondering if that was a mistake.
Let's see. So let's Christmas. And is the first one supposed to be Christmas Eve? Yeah, day should be Eve. Or day should be Eve.
Oh.
Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Okay. I think we can make that change administratively, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So if we can show that, it should be Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll make that administratively. Thank you. Otherwise, you get Christmas off twice. Okay, can we show the speaker queue? We have no other speakers, so we can proceed straight to a vote. Mr. Cunningham, do you want?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Cunningham, Town Council, and I thank you to the town meeting member for bringing that to our attention. I believe that the bylaw currently reads Christmas and then Christmas Eve Day, if same falls on Monday through Friday. So the second Christmas should have the word Eve before day.
Oh, Christmas and Christmas Eve Day to match the, okay.
That's the current bylaw language.
Okay, so whatever change, we'll make sure that both days are covered. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's proceed. We have a canceled request. Okay, so I don't think anyone's actually requesting to speak at this point. So let's move to a vote. Oh, Mr. Steve Moore? Yeah, the microphone, please. Can you ask your question at the microphone? Yeah, because we need to speak into the microphone so that the stenographer can hear everything.
Mr. Moderator, I apologize. Steve Moore, Precinct 18. Simply, do they get, it reads like they get Christmas Eve as a holiday? Christmas Eve Day?
Mr. Feeney?
To Christmas and Christmas Eve Day?
Jim Feeney, Town Manager, that is correct, as the bylaw currently reads.
Okay. Okay, so let's, seeing no more speaking requests, let's open voting on the main motion of Article 9. So this is to amend Title I, Article 6, Section 16 of the town bylaws to define and clarify the observance of employee holidays. Okay. Hopefully it's clarifying. Okay, get your votes in quickly. Okay, let's close voting. And the vote passes 203 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, and 1 abstention. That takes us to Article 10. And so, Mr. Diggins, I think, did you want to introduce this for the Select Board?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Leonard Diggins. I am Town Meeting Member for Precinct 3, Vice Chair of the Select Board, and for complete transparency, I'm also the Town Manager's designee to the Poet Laureate Screening Committee, or Selection Committee. So the Select Board has recommended unanimously that we change the bylaw to allow that we have a Poet Laureate that doesn't necessarily reside in Arlington. And the reason for that is in our last attempt to find a Poet Laureate, we had a just really hard time, finding or even getting people to apply for the position. So we were hoping that we would have a chance to increase the area by which we could search for Poet Laureate. We did have someone step forward towards the end. For various reasons, it hasn't worked out, and that's why we have a Poet Laureate. In fact, Jean Flanagan is going to continue on for a third year, but as we try to search again, we'd like to have the ability to search beyond Arlington. So that's the rationale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diggins. Okay, let's see, we have several requests in the speaker queue. Before we get started from the speaker queue, I did just notice, I mean, we caught this on some of the other articles in the vote language, but if you look at the Article 10 in the annotated warrant, we're just going to hit all the issues tonight, get them all out of the way. The vote language under Article 10 states, or take any action related thereto. So what I'm going to do at this point, unless town council has a legal opinion that contradicts this, is any time that we see or take any action related thereto in the vote language, we're going to strike that administratively because it seems like those are just scrivener's errors. Is that accurate? Okay, so we should only ever see that at the end of the warrant article text. We should never see that in the vote language. Okay, so let's go to the speaker queue now, and we have point of order, Mr. Jalkut, or Mr. Klein, yeah. Oh, okay, thank you. So first speaker, Ms. Christina Chalapatas. Oh, you tried to take yourself off. Okay. I think you should be able to press 1 to take yourself off, but Ms. Caroline Murray. No. Ms. Joanne Preston. Okay. So why don't we clear the speaker queue at this point, and then we'll try it again, because a lot of folks seem to be surprised. Mr. Wagner, you can start us off since you clearly intended to be on the speaker queue. Yeah. No, seriously, Mr. Wagner, you can lead us off while we correct this. Yeah, we're clearing the queue. Well, now you're second in the queue. Now you go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. My father was a poet, and my late brother was the poet laureate of Amesbury. I completely applaud Arlington having and was very pleased to see that we have a poet laureate. However, I rise to suggest that we not do this because Arlington poet laureates should be from Arlington. And I think there are better ways, such as letting the existing poet laureate go on and on unchallenged until there's a need to change it. Poets take a long time to write. I can say that from knowing my 2 family members, and they get better and better too. So I would ask you to vote no on this. It's totally unnecessary to get a Chelmsford or an Amesbury or a Washington, D.C. poet laureate in as Arlington. Thank you.
All right, but we don't have to name other towns with disdain in our voice. I was very respectful when I brought up Lexington and Concord earlier. All right, let's see, we'll take Mr. Hamlin and then Mr. Loretti.
Guillermo Hamlin, Precinct 14. I agree with the gentleman, Carl Wagner, but for different reasons. I don't necessarily see the reason to proceed with this, if only to be snarky and trying to stay within scope that this is regarding the location or the residence of the poet laureate, that we need to remind that maybe we can make Arlington a little more affordable. I'll just leave that. Also, to stay within scope, we can avail ourselves to the Arlington Public Schools. We can avail ourselves to college students that may not be necessarily residing in Arlington, but are graduates of the public schools, and we can avail ourselves to them. We can avail ourselves to a great many number of Arlington residents who can fit the poet laureate position. And with that, I just yield my time. But we could also just make Arlington a little bit more affordable, keep the poets in town. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. We'll take Mr. Loretti. And I would entertain amendments to allow poet laureates from other Arlingtons, like Virginia or Texas. Mr. Loretti?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Chris Loretti, Precinct 7. I have a question. Is this a compensated position?
The consensus seems to be no, but can someone answer that authoritatively?
If that's the answer, then can someone explain to me why the budget for the Arts Commission that we just rubber stamped said covers the cost of the poet laureate, and in their website also says that they financially support the poet laureate program? Does anyone know for sure?
Let's see. Just looking at the article text here. Mr. Diggins, do you know? This may be out of scope. Why don't you answer while I'm trying to determine that? You can go ahead, Mr. Diggins.
Leonard Diggins, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, Select Board Vice Chair. So the position itself is not compensated, but the Arlington Arts Commission, Arts and Culture, Arts and Culture, does provide some financial support for the position, so that the Poet Laureate can use that money to fund events, but the position itself is not compensated, so the money doesn't go directly to the Poet Laureate.
Okay, thank you. Do you know roughly how much per year?
I do not know offhand know how much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
I would note that one of the purposes, as written in this vote, is to recognize the literary achievements of town residents. I think if the town's going to vote on this, they ought to change that to town residents and non-residents. But like Mr. Wagner, I don't support this change and would ask people to not vote for it. It doesn't really make sense for me for Arlington to have a poet laureate that's not from Arlington. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Loretti. Take Mr. Schlickman next.
Paul Schlickman, Precinct 9. I'm sort of wondering how to get a good line in here about residency at Poets Corner.
Scope.
Well, I think that Poets Corner is in the town, but no. The issue I see here is that we do have people who have strong Arlington connections, who would be good poet laureates, who don't put their heads on the pillow in Arlington. And the example I see first is that we have many English teachers working for the public schools in the town of Arlington who can't afford to live here but have strong connections to the town and might be good candidates for poet laureate. So just in recognizing, opening it up to that class of people with connections who don't necessarily reside, I would urge a yes vote.
Great, thank you, Mr. Schlickman. We'll take Junko Nagano, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, next. And I just want to say all the remaining speakers on this article, I'm going to require that you speak in iambic pentameter, dactylic hexameter, or elegiac couplet. Okay, go ahead.
Junko Nagano, Precinct 11. I have a question on one of the wording about the necessary support. I find this very open and nebulous. I like to see this bounded, or at least minimum given an example of what you mean by necessary support, because I believe the definition of necessary would be different depending on how you feel about this position.
Mr. Diggins, can you answer that?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Leonard Diggins, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, Select Board Vice Chair. My colleagues were in agreement with you on this, so that is not going to be part of the amendment to the bylaw.
Okay, so you're going to strike this part out?
Yes, it's not when we read the main motion. That's not included in the main motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no
Okay.
problem. No
All right.
problem at all. Totally good question.
Got it. Thank
Sure.
you very much.
You're welcome.
Wait, so just to clarify, so what is not appearing, because I'm looking at the vote language in the annotated warrant, and it does say, there's a number 2, formally established that the screening committee also provides the necessary support to the selected poet laureate at the beginning and throughout their term. Is that not supposed to be in there?
That is not supposed to be in there. So I think if you go to when I look at the annotated warrant and I look at the amended bylaw, that's not part of the amended bylaw. So I think what you're looking at here is the vote language for that was given to the select board, and we rejected section 2. So when you go to the amended bylaw, you'll see that that's not included in the amended bylaw.
Okay. So there's the instructional portion at the beginning of the vote language, which is we're going to make these changes, which seems like it's largely copy and pasted from the warrant article text, and then we had that issue with or take any action related thereto, and it seems like that's a symptom of that same issue. But it's really what we're really paying attention to here and what's actually relevant for what we're voting on here is everything after, so that the new provision of Title II reads, everything after that is what actually matters in the vote language. The other portion above that is like should not be taken literally, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Cunningham, Town Council, and I agree with the town meeting member. I think that could be more clear. However, as indicated, the only change that's made to the bylaw, or the only addition, subtraction, is from the section that talks about this honorary position shall be voluntary, and then it strikes the portion that relates to the requirement that the poet laureate be an Arlington resident. So there's no inclusion of any new language related to that provision that the last speaker just cited.
Right. Let's go back to the speaker queue. Okay, we have Ms. Friedman next, and then Mr. Jalkut.
Beth Ann Friedman, Precinct 15, and I strongly feel that Poet Laureate of Arlington should be a resident of Arlington. And the way this is written, it leaves it wide open to be from anywhere. I would recommend that next year they come back with a warrant article that's suggesting that individuals who have strong ties to Arlington, either through occupation in working in Arlington, school ties, prior school ties in Arlington, family living in Arlington, are eligible, rather than leaving it wide open to anyone in the whole world. So I urge voting against this article as written.
Thank you. Mr. Jalkut? And while Mr. Jalkut's coming up, let me just clarify that the vote language is effectively, what we're kind of administratively, in order to make this consistent with it, the vote language consistent with itself, we're going to basically have to replace everything from town bylaws 2, and skip everything from the 2, all the way to the take any action related thereto, so that it reads that the town does and hereby amends Title II, Article 11, thank you, of the town bylaws, skipping ahead, so that the new provision of the Title II reads, and then we won't have this inconsistency between the description of the change and the actual literal change that it results in. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Mr. Jalkut, go ahead.
Daniel Jalkut, Precinct 6. I move to terminate debate on this.
Was that a haiku? Or actually, that sounded like dactylic hexameter, I think. Is it? No? Okay, if we have a motion to terminate debate, do we have a second? Okay, in meter though. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor of terminating debate under Article 10, I didn't say yes or no yet. Maybe I'll say no first and you'll all be like thrown off. Okay, all those in favor of terminating debate say yes. All those opposed say no. It's a 2/3 vote. Okay. And we have no amendments on this, correct? Yes. But we do have that change that we made administratively to strike most of the instructional portion of the vote language to resolve the contradiction. Okay, so let's bring up a vote now on the main motion under Article 10. And voting is now open. And what we're voting on is to amend Title II, Article 11 of the town bylaws in regard to the selection of the town's poet laureate. So if you're in favor of all the changes in the vote language, press 1 for yes. If you want to leave the town bylaws as is without modification, press 2 for no, or 3 to abstain. Okay, let's close voting. And the motion passes. 108 in the affirmative, 100 in the negative, and 3 abstentions. Okay, and 1 sec. Okay. Okay, so that takes us to Article 11. Okay, Ms. Mahan? And actually, can we open the speaker queue before Ms. Mahan gets started? Sorry. We have a point of order, and can we clear it when we switch over to? Point of order? Yeah. At 10:40? I do not recognize that at 10:40. How many votes are we taking? Okay. Okay, there we go. We have the speaker queue open now. Okay, Ms. Mahan, go ahead. Sorry for the delay.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Diane Mahan, Chair of the Select Board. We voted favorable action on this, which would give an avenue for homeowners to appeal their placement on the town's historic structures inventory list. And we had a very good warrant article hearing, and Lois Kaznicki will come up and speak to that. But the board heard about properties who may be listed in the HSI in error, as well as a member who was there from the Historic Commission did say that there are issues with the HSI, and it could be over-inclusive. So with all the other points that were brought forth before the board, we felt like this is some necessary relief for those who find themselves in that situation. But I would ask the proponent, Lois Kaznicki, to speak more eloquently on this.
Okay, and so I believe Mr. Lefebvre was going to introduce the speaker. Is that right?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mark Lefebvre, Precinct 7. I'd like to cede my time to Lois Kaznicki.
Okay, and is she a resident of Arlington?
She is.
She is. Then she has the right to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, you could use any of the podiums. From the center, you might not be able to see the time remaining, but there's a tablet in front of the podium, and so you.
My remarks will be brief.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Mr. Lefebvre. My name is Lois Kaznicki. I live at 58 Bates Road in Arlington. I've lived there since 2001. My husband Timur and I have 2 daughters at Arlington High School. This is the first time I've spoken in front of a group this large since I was myself in high school. I came here tonight to both advocate and educate. Given what I've learned since I arrived, I would like to put a little bit more emphasis on the educate rather than advocate. But I will say this. I don't hate history, and I'm not against historic preservation. I like living in a place with such a palpable sense of its place in history. I'm not against the Historical Commission. They are pleasant and cordial to work with, and I enjoyed a very long, deep conversation with its co-chair about this article back in February. I believe that more conversation is better. They are, after all, our neighbors and fellow citizens. Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
I'm asking town meeting to support an amendment to Title VI, Article 6 of the town bylaw. I had a slide. Thank you, yes, thank you. Yes, that bylaw empowers the Historical Commission to place homes and buildings onto the inventory of historic structures because they deem them historic and worthy of preservation. Note that I am talking about properties under the Historical Commission and not the Historic Districts Commission, which is a separate entity. What the current bylaw does not provide is any means to correct errors that were made when the list was created in 1980 and in the decades since. I call these errors of over-inclusion and under-enforcement. Over-inclusion refers to homes and other structures, and areas that do not have any reasonable historic significance or exceed the scope of the bylaw in their inclusion. Under-enforcement refers to a period of at least 2 decades in which the permits for work for houses that were on the list were not referred to the Historical Commission by the permitting office as required by law. During that time, changes were made to homes, then noted features were removed, destroyed, or covered, and homeowners like myself were told that there were no restrictions on our houses. And the next slide. The existence of these errors is not in dispute by either the Historical Commission or the town. The Commission admits that there are houses on the list that don't belong there, my own included. The inventory is publicly available, and although it may take a little time, it is not hard to find other examples of entries that exhibit one or both of these errors. The town, for its part, has taken steps to address the problem of under-enforcement. Around the middle of last year, the permitting office began referring permits, including mine, to the Commission last year as required by law. But fixing the enforcement problem without addressing the inclusion problem only creates pain for residents who are trapped in the process. What is missing is any form of legal relief for homeowners short of a lawsuit against the town. As it stands, someone making a change to more than 25% of the exterior of their home must have a public hearing with the Commission and must receive approval of their project's details before any permits will be issued. And you must do this every time you want to do a new project that may exceed the 25% rule, no matter how trivial the historic value of your home. This is what Article 11 seeks to address. My proposal is modest and reasonable. A homeowner whose property suffers from these errors of over-inclusion and under-enforcement may petition the Historical Commission to have their house removed from the list. Thus, homeowners must act in cooperation and partnership with the Historical Commission and not against it. We are, after all, neighbors and fellow citizens. It's a bit of a forcing mechanism, yes, that to balance homeowners and would-be homeowners' concerns with that of historic preservation. And although the Commission did not create these problems, this creates an incentive for them to fix them. The Historical Commission was not initially in favor of my amendment. I was delighted and heartened to hear today when I arrived that they have come out in support of this article. I had a very long, deep conversation with them, and I believe that cordiality and the frank exchange of, the challenges and the hardships that we both were experiencing it gives me faith in people that, are neighbors and fellow citizens in Arlington. We also added some extra time in the bylaw, in the amendment, to give them a little extra time to deal with petitions that come into, that are filed. So they now have 60 days as opposed to the original was written as 30. That extra time they felt was crucial to give due consideration to the petitions. I believe that when you are dealing with someone's home, which is their personal property and in which they have rights, and which is probably their largest material asset, there must be legal and transparent processes for individuals to petition their local government for relief from undue burden. Especially now, we should seek, even in these small ways, to make the town's bylaws work more transparently, democratically, and equitably. Thank you all for your time and attention, and I cede my remaining 26 seconds back to Mr. Lefebvre.
Great, thank you, Ms. Kuznicki and Mr. Lefebvre. Can we switch over to the speaker queue now? Mr. Ruderman. After which we'll take Mr. Greenspan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Ruderman, Precinct 9. And I spent
11 years as a member of the Historical Commission, whose most public-facing duty is administering the bylaw, which is based on the inventory, full name, Inventory of Architecturally and Historically Significant Structures in the Town of Arlington. It's a mouthful. And there may be reasons which may not be visibly apparent why a property has been included in that inventory. I am in favor of this article because I believe it gives the Historical Commission an opportunity to both examine its own doings, its own records, correct an error if one is to be found, but also to engage in a public education function by which they can make the case if a property is well and truly listed as having some architectural or historical significance that may not be apparent on a drive-by examination. They can make that case to both the person asking for determination and anyone else. Of course, it's a public hearing. But I'm not the best person to tell you this. Mr. Moderator, there are two members of the Historical Commission here with us tonight, and I would ask you to invite them as residents of the town to come and speak. They are Joanne Robinson and Pamela Meister.
Okay. Would they like to speak? And they're residents of the town, so please. Yeah.
I'm Joanne Robinson, and I'm a co-chair of the Arlington Historical Commission. And we have worked very, very completely with the board, and we have also worked with the lawyer. And I would like to say that the Arlington Historical Commission voted to recommend a yes vote on this level. And the hearing and the review process described in the Article 11 that makes an existing observed practice of the commission consistent, and it's transparent. We do not hide anything from anybody about what the properties have been that we have actually done in hearings, and we do not say anything about the the property is consistent, as I said, and transparent. Although rare properties have been removed in the past from Arlington's inventory, architecturally and or historically significant properties after separate condition, not related to the demolition delay hearings, is how we have worked. And we've done this for how many years? A long time. We've been doing this for very many years, and we generally...
I'm sorry, can you please use the microphone?
Okay, I'm sorry. We have done this for so many years, and we have worked very much, and we work with the proponent, and then we have a discussion.
Hi, I'm Pamela Meister. I'm a commissioner. I'm also a member of Precinct 2. I'm a former town meeting member as well. When we first heard about this, we were concerned because 30 days is not nearly enough for us. We have been down 2 commissioners for about 15 years. We have issues with the current commissioners, some health issues, et cetera. Turning this into 60 days is very helpful for us. When we first came before the Board of Selectmen, I was present. I had only heard about some of this as I volunteer 1 day a week. I happened to be volunteering, heard about this, left work, and came, and I was wrong about something I said to the Board of Selectmen, which was that I didn't think there was a process for removing things. When I spoke with Richard Duffy, who also had been a commissioner, he said, yes, in fact, there is a process, and he described how it was. So on one sense, in our opinion, this isn't needed. In another sense, we are very happy to do this. Most of the properties that were put on an inventory in the 1970s and 1980s, those are the ones that have, I wouldn't say the most errors, but they have very scanty documentation. They were reviewed by historians. The Mass Historical Commission did approve them, but there are some also that over the years there were changes made. Sometimes the building department did not reach out to us. Changes were made sometimes without our knowledge.
About 30 seconds.
Okay, but during that whole time, we have held hearings, we have held enforcement issues, we have multiple hearings every month. So we do very much appreciate what these homeowners have been through, but we also feel that it is important, especially in this 250th year, to maintain a historic and architecturally significant inventory of properties in this town. My final thing is, if anybody would like to join the commission, we would love to have you. So we really are in need of some more commissioners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And yeah, we're out of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it is 10:58 p.m. I would entertain a motion to adjourn at this point. We have a point of order? Yes. Do we have a guarantee that I'll take a picture just in case, but yes. Yes, Ms. Deschler? Oh, and also, yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Christine Deschler, the Chair of the Finance Committee. Having voted on the prevailing side, I give notice of reconsideration of Articles 53, 54, 56, 58, 61, 63, 68, 70, 71, 72, and 74.
Okay. So noted. Thank you. Mr. Wagner, you have a point of order? Actually, before anyone leaves, we haven't adjourned yet. Before anyone does leave, make sure that you've turned in your clickers. Don't leave with them in your pocket. Mr. Wagner?
Thank you, Carl Wagner, Precinct 15. I'm in second row with glasses, admittedly, but can't see this. Could this be put on a URL, a web link, the list of speakers for the future?
I believe they're going to work on it for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Someone's shaking their head saying that that particular option is not possible, but we're going to see about increasing the font size for next meeting, correct? Yes. And apologies for the illegibility of that. So, do we have a motion to adjourn? Well, who's making the motion? I'm not. Okay. Okay, a motion to adjourn. And we have a second from Mr. Schlickman. All those in favor of adjourning say yes. All those opposed say no. It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you. See you Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Turn in your clickers.